Welcome to the second Molywood-GUI tutorial, in which I will go through the basic functionalities of the GUI. So, starting from the very top of the graphical interface, you have the first three links here: documentation, sample library, and tutorials that go to the browser, to the documentation. This is the full text documentation. This is a library of minimal samples that actually is worthwhile to check. And because this is where you can go to see very minimal examples for what different actions do and how you can use them in your movies. So you have the input on the left and you have the actual movie as it is produced to the right. And I really recommend going through as many examples as possible to give you inspiration for what you might want to incorporate into your molecular movies, right? But back to the GUI. We have the load input, save input buttons, which essentially allow you to work with text inputs. So whatever you have set up in the GUI, you can export to text and you can load afterwards. And we have this really cool feature, I think, of loading templates. So all those samples here, you can find them as templates, and you can actually go here and take one of those minimal movies and import them into your Molywood session. So if I load this template, you can immediately see that my scene now, you can think of scenes as kind of single takes in cinema. So a single scene is a continuous video, let's say. In this case, it is now 8 seconds long. It has 11 actions. It has this resolution and is based on a predefined visualization state that is shipped with the repository. So just for the tutorials, there's one minimal trajectory with a basic setup that you can then use. Let's go through the general tab first. So you have the directory where the movie will be produced and the name of the movie that you can change. You can change both the directory and the name. Pay attention to the tooltips, by the way, because the tooltips very often explain what is happening and give more information and context. You can change the FPS rate, and by default it's 15, but you can set any number you want. You have the layout by default. Again, most movies you make will probably have just a single scene, right? A single panel, but you can have many different options here. You can have side by side, you can have one over the other, or any custom number of rows and columns that you want. You can choose the render mode. This is quite important because the preview mode just previews the video inside the VMD session, so it doesn't really produce any files. But then you have the snapshot mode, which uses snapshots, so screenshots, so to say, to create the movie. It will be low quality, but very fast. And then you have the high quality option, which essentially uses Tachyon, this internal renderer of VMD, to produce high quality frames and then put everything together. So this one takes much longer, but in general, you want to start with previewing, then rendering with snapshot to make sure that the movie is looking all right, and then go to high quality once you need something for publication or, you want to show it to the people out there. There's a bunch of advanced settings that we won't go through in this first tutorial. There will be one for that. You have the render button, which of course renders the movie. You have the script diagram, which is a really cool feature that shows a timeline of the movie, how the movie will be produced and how the GUI actually sees your input. In this case, you have a bunch of actions that take 1 second or 2 seconds. Overall, it goes all the way to 8 seconds. So you can also see the full time. If you have multiple scenes, it's also nice because you will see the alignments between the scenes and how they might follow one another. And you have a dataset manager, which allows you to create and visualize datasets. Again, there will be separate tutorials for that, but one of the nice features of Molywood is that it allows you to have datasets, molecular datasets, that are shown dynamically together with the movie. Let's go to the scene contents tab now. And the scene contents shows the contents of the scene, as you could expect. So now we have 11 actions in the scene. You can see all of them. Some of them are instantaneous, so they take 0 seconds. You have all the properties of those actions. Some of them might take 1 or 2 seconds in this case. If you don't like the parameter of any of these actions, you can double click and you should be able to edit So for example, I can change the angle from 90 to 100 and I can save and it will be changed here. You can move the actions up or down as you want. You can merge them or unmerge them to make them simultaneous. You can add, edit, copy, remove. This is, I hope, self-explanatory. One important thing here is previewing, and I won't go through the details of this pop-up. That's for later, but let's just go with save and restore. And you can see this whole preview of this movie, and you can also see dynamically the actions are highlighted here. So you can get an idea of what is happening inside your movie very quickly. Right. You've got a scenes manager finally, and the scenes manager, since we have just one scene, you can edit the name of the scene, you can edit the source. The source is something that will be loaded at the very beginning of the movie. In this case, this is a VMD file, .vmd file, which keeps a visualization state. You should be familiar with visualization states. It is a way in VMD to preserve your whole setup. So the representations, the molecules you created, and so on. There are different options. You can use a current VMD state if you have something in your VMD session at the moment. You can use generic PDB for letter codes, or you can use an existing structure file, or even cube files in case of a quantum trajectory. You can change the resolution if you want to. In that case, you always have to remember to click to update and the properties of the scene, because they don't update automatically, but you will have this yellow reminder to do that. If you have multiple panels, you will be able to set the row and column position. In this case, again, we have just one, so you cannot choose, but if you set more, you can specify in which row or column this scene should be. In the same way, if you have multiple scenes, you can say one of them should be after the other. You can specify it here. You can clone scenes with entire content. So if you want to create two scenes that are very similar, you can very easily do that, and so on and so forth. Okay, now that we did this very brief overview, let's go back to just render. Let's say with the very basic default parameters of FPS equal 15 and a snapshot render mode, we can press render. We're gonna have another display here that will generate the frames, that will keep the snapshots of every frame. And in a few seconds, we have 8 seconds times 15, so that's gonna be 120 frames that are being composed in the background. It should take a few seconds to produce the final movie that you have here now. So I encourage you to go through this step on your own. Just take a template, run through it, and make sure that you can render a movie to verify that your Molywood-GUI is working fine. If you manage to do that, congratulations. Again, I will talk to you in the next tutorial, and thanks for listening to this one.